And then what else is being developed, or what does the future hold for BSV as you see it?
Interested in passive income? Check out this cryptocurrency savings scheme from Axion. Get a 10% bonus when you use my link and purchase through the Axion auctions. Then stake, save, earn, and spend. Link in the description below.
Well, a lot of BSV right now has been focusing on developing applications. So they're experimenting with, gosh, I mean, that's the thing. Crypto Rich is not, there's so many applications on BSV right now that are being experimented with that's kind of like the difficulty is giving you like a list of all of them.
Right.
There's a tracker that keeps track. There's a tracker of how many applications are being developed how many startups are coming up, and it's almost like one a day in BSV. Wow. But it's not getting a lot of publicity. I don't know why.
I had no idea. I thought of BSV as a currency in the way that Bitcoin Cash is, and Bitcoin as I didn't know it was a protocol. Are there any issues of bloat, or congestion like you get with Ethereum?
No, because the design of Bitcoin is such that no, there is no bloat. The design of Bitcoin at scale, where you allow miners to have complete sovereignty, is such where miners can scale. Miners can do as they please. So if a miner finds it profitable to build up its infrastructure by allowing more of a certain type of transactions, then they can. The scaling is limitless.
Right.
It's just based on market demand. And remember, one miner can't. Like I said, I may have said this earlier, but BSV is completely miners operate in BSV in accordance to the market demand, right? And so they calibrate one another. So there may be a very wealthy miner that right now could implement new technology where they could transact a lot more, but they may be the vast majority of the miners in the network don't have the financial means to scale. So the blockchain would be, in general, the blockchain would calibrate to allow for transactions at a certain level. And that's something that they've been testing for like the past year, 2 years now in BSV. And yes, it is possible to transact bigger blocks than what we see now, in way bigger blocks than we see now. But the Bitcoin network is designed in a way that where it constantly calibrates, because it's a network that is designed not just to provide value for one mining group or one miner or one mining pool. It's the strategy, the game theory behind the Nakamoto consensus is one where the value is always sought for the better of everyone. So in BSV, they talk about BSV being a small world network, where every it's small world in that whoever is providing most value now amongst the miners may not be the person or the entity that provides the most value in the future. So they call this a Stackelberg competition, where whoever is providing the most value now, they're constantly competing for first place, right? And in that competition of seeking profit and becoming the most profitable miner, not just for themselves, but of course for everyone else, it creates an environment of competitive cooperation, which we call co-opetition, right? So where in the Bitcoin blockchain and in the design of the original Bitcoin protocol, one transaction is 2 hops removed away from being connected to the whole network, right? You make your transaction, and then in the first hop, right, to the first miners, then it hits. Then in the second hop, it's already registered in the entire blockchain, right? So it's in that simplicity of design that we find a lot of value in Bitcoin, right? So with a small blocker perspective has that, but it's limited because of the 1 megabyte block size and SegWit, like I mentioned earlier. And so they require in order to scale and grow Bitcoin, they need a layered approach. And that's why they are introducing the Lightning Network. And now, I guess PayPal could be construed as another type of second layer. I call it another second layer, another type of second layer, not necessarily like the Lightning Network, but it's in some ways similar. And it's because the BTC blockchain cannot scale on chain, right? Whereas in BSV, it can scale on chain limitlessly. Excuse me, in whatever way the miners see fit. In Bitcoin Cash, there has always been the notion that you can scale, but to a certain limit. So they put caps there as well. Not as small as BTC, but they put caps there as well. And in Bitcoin Cash, they've also, a lot of members within the community, again, that's all changing right now. We don't know what's going to happen in the near future. But in Bitcoin Cash, there's also been a lot of dictation from central planners as to what is possible and what you should do, you shouldn't do within the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. Whereas in BSV, it's kind of like do whatever you want. Now, there are other differences between BSV and Bitcoin Cash that I think it's important to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The worldview for Bitcoin Cash is more of an anarcho-capitalist worldview, more agorist worldview, where Bitcoin Cash wants to be money for the world first and foremost, and they want to incorporate as much privacy as possible. Okay.
Yep.
Bitcoin SV is it's also has that same libertarian perspective, but it's different. BSV is more Randian, it's more objectivist, right? And as objectivists, they have no problem they're extreme capitalists. So they have no problem using the law of the state to resolve disputes, right? Mm-hmm. Because unfortunately right now, like if you want to be a brutalist about it, there's not really a Lex Cryptographia out existing right now. Heck, we can barely there's been attempts to create decentralized autonomous organizations, and the crypto space is still trying to figure that one out. But let alone, we still haven't figured out cryptographic law, right? So when we talk about code as law, yes, that is a cypherpunk desire, but it's not something that has been completely developed, and it's nowhere near as robust of a dispute resolution system as what we find in government law, unfortunately. But I hope the free market catches up to that and competes with government law. I think it will, because now there's a financial incentive with cryptocurrency, right? Mm-hmm. And there's the means with cryptography, and especially with privacy coins, but that's another completely different topic. But the objectivist worldview of BSV is something that a lot of people in crypto kind of misunderstand, and they just pass them off as, oh, well, you're just a statist. Well, yes, in fact, they are statists, but they're more minarchists. They're not anarchists, they're minarchists in their perspective. And within BSV, there are anarchists within BSV, like Daniel Krawitz is an anarchist, but their worldview in achieving anarcho-capitalism, they have a different game plan, and this is their game plan. I'm about to expose the game plan here. The game plan is hyper-capitalism. If you have hyper-capitalism in a world run by miners, you start supplanting all of the services of the state, all of the public services of the state by free market options, right? So with a capitalist meritocracy as created by Satoshi within the Nakamoto consensus, you have a new type of governance based on proof of work. So what proof of work does is that in its logical conclusion is that it completely destroys politics and government. Because as Bitcoin scales, right? As BSV scale, the big blocker worldview is this: as Bitcoin scales, governments would be very stupid to get in the way of market freedom, because the more tyrannical government is towards Bitcoin at scale, the less it will be able to profit off Bitcoin. So a lot of people in BTC have the worldview of looking at the price of the coin. Big blockers don't look at the price of the coin as much, but they focus more on the inner economy of Bitcoin itself, and they focus on the health of the miners. So BSV focuses on the health of the miners. So a small blocker, like I saw Eric Voorhees tweeted recently, he's a very small country, right? That's $10 billion into BTC and cease to be a small country. Okay, great. The big blocker perspective would be like, you know what's even better? If that small country became a Bitcoin, you see what I mean? So it's because So where is the health of the network? Where do you find the health of the network, the health of Bitcoin? The health of BTC comes from the value of the coin as traded on exchanges that are extrinsic to what happens within the Bitcoin blockchain itself. Remember, the BTC blockchain is limited, right? But the health of the network, meaning financial well-being of miners within BTC, depends on the price of the coin. I keep forgetting the name of this financial house, but before the last halving that we just had, before the last halving of BTC, they realized that BTC needs to be at least $12,000 in price, BTC, in order for it to be profitable for the miners that mine BTC. Okay, this market is crazy and is extremely volatile. What if for some crazy reason the price of BTC goes below that, and it stays below that for a significant amount of time, maybe years? Then the health of the miners within BTC would be hurting, right?
Yeah.
Because again, BTC is scaling Bitcoin, not on chain. BTC scales Bitcoin on second layers and is dependent on an infrastructure that is extrinsic to the BTC blockchain. That is not the big blocker worldview. The big blocker worldview is, and I think it's best seen in BSV, is you scale Bitcoin on chain and you create a robust economy on chain where the health of the miners does not come from the price of the coin in the future, but the health of the miners comes from a giant, vast amount of transactions, whether it be microtransactions or any type of transactions that the miners desire that happen on chain. So what we old Bitcoiners like myself, we would call the age of the golden age of mining. I don't know if I was the only one using that, but I might have heard it somewhere back in the day. The golden age of mining was a time where miners would make more money from transaction fees than from the block reward. So as you know, the block reward halves every 4 years.
Yeah.
The block reward is something that for big blockers, we call that the subsidy. It's almost like for a big blocker, it's almost like a government subsidy. We hear the block reward, that's the subsidy. That's just to kickstart the network for miners to find incentives to mine blocks. But a capitalist worldview, and this is what I like about BSV because it's hyper capitalist. They see transactions on chain being the future lifeblood of Bitcoin miners. And BTC, you can't have transactions on chain. You can't.
No.
They're very limited, and it's easy to clog up the network. And when it's clogged up, you find yourself waiting an enormous amount of time with your transactions sitting on the mempool. Then there's an auctioning process with something that Peter Todd wrote into code called replace by fee. And replace by fee, what it does is it's an auctioning process. Whoever pays the biggest fee gets on the next bus, on the next bus. If you don't pay this high fee, you don't get on the next bus.
Right.
So the main pool, it's really easy to back up the mempool.
Okay.
So it's very easy to back up the mempool. Yes.
So then with BSV, what makes it distinct is the opportunity for the miners to earn from the transactions, and that's because of the big blocks. It can have smart contracts, it can have applications, just the one coin, not a coupon economy.
Right. So let me break this down. There's difference in the fee structure, right? The fee structure within BSV is that fees are run directly in parallel with transaction volume. The more volume, the more fees. Since there is no cap to the block size, the moment transactions go into the mempool and they're waiting to get picked up by the next block of time, right? They're completely cleared out. The mempool is completely emptied in BSV. You are assured that your transaction is completely picked up by the next block, right? In BTC, fees, their understanding of fees and the fee structure for miners to monetize is based on bidding and auctioning that happens on who's going to pay the highest fee when that bus stop is full. We call the mempool. I use the imagery of a bus stop, right?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, and this is just something more technical that's an aside, the 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 chain of digital signatures has been removed from SegWit transactions. So the chain of digital signatures it's section 2 of the white paper, where Satoshi shows us that there is not just the cryptographical attestation that happens within mining itself, but there's also a chain of digital signatures that goes from transaction to transaction that started off at the Genesis block. When you remove that, you remove a cryptographic safeguard. So that in BTC, on SegWit BTC, you don't have it. And it's arguably dangerous to the BTC network. In BSV, the chain of digital signatures is there. So the moment you make a transaction in BSV, you know that there has been proof work from the Genesis block attesting that your transaction is going to get picked up in the next block of time.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Okay.
So it's just a different understanding, guys. It's just, okay. So this is what I'm trying to say. This is all just a different worldview on what Bitcoin is and Bitcoin. It's possible within Bitcoin.
Yeah. Now, if people want to find out,
we can argue back and forth for ages.
Now, Rafael, if people want to find out about Bitcoin SV, right, where is the best place to go?
Gosh, I mean, there's just Google it. Just Google it. Because
I'll find some links and I'll put them in the description below, right?
Just Google it. Okay. I mean, there's just, I mean, this is the thing, Crypto Rich, is that I don't want to give any specific place because this is a very heated topic of conversation. And this is a very heated topic of conversation. And there's a lot of tribalism behind all of this. It's very hard to find an objective perspective.
Sure.
To be completely honest, Crypto Rich, the best place to find information regarding BSV is the Crypto Vigilante, and I'm saying this in humility. And the reason why I say this is because we have Mr. F, Mr. W, and Ed Bugos, and even Jeff Berwick that are very critical on BSV. So you have me seeing the merits of BSV, but you also have them giving you, like Mr. X. If he was here, he'd be giving you a completely different perspective, right? And I've learned a lot about the small blocker perspective because I dialogue with him. And he has learned a lot about BSV and the big blocker perspective because he dialogues with me. That is the merit of being open to dialogue with people, right? We're not an echo chamber at the Crypto Vigilante, right? So, so we watch each other's back. But if you, let's say, go to CoinGeek, you're going to find BSV perspective 100% of the time. That's what you're going to get. If you go somewhere else, it's going to be small blocker perspective. The crypto space is very tribal, and that's probably one of the biggest problems within crypto. It's very tribal, and it's hard to get a clear, objective perspective. Okay?
Sure.
So,
Rafael,
that's one of the reasons we started the Crypto Vigilante, is because we needed this.
Yes, and then if people want to know more about the Crypto Vigilante, they should check in with that video when that goes out. And subscribe to my channel and also Rafael's channel. I will have links to the Crypto Vigilante, your channel, and the subscription service in the description below. And then people should Google Bitcoin SV and go have a look and do your own due diligence and check it out. Rafael, any last words you want to say before we finish
Crypto
up?
Rich. Yeah, well, let me balance this out because I just gave you the pro BSV perspective, but there's things in BSV that people should know. BSV is definitely not a privacy coin at all. Okay. We know BTC itself is not a privacy coin. We know that that miners in BTC are already discriminating between transactions and discriminating between what's a tainted coin and what's not a tainted coin. Well, we're definitely going to see that in BSV. So it's going to be BSV if it ends up being what they want it to be, which is Bitcoin at scale, at an enterprise level, where miners are competing at an enterprise level. We're going to be seeing a lot of government involvement within BSV. But again, the worldview of the average BSV person is one that is very randy and very objectivist. And they see everyone in the world as their potential customer, right? They don't have a purity test. They are okay negotiating within the statist corporate government worldview. They are okay with so they operate on a different wavelength in regards to compliance and to in regards to government involvement than the vast majority of crypto. But there is virtue in that. There is merit in that, because sooner or later there is going to be a cryptocurrency that governments take on as their own. And I'd rather it be a coin that is not run by a central group of developers that are central planners for the sake of decentralization, like the vast majority of crypto. I think BSV is a great option because it is run by a network of capitalist competitive miners.
Very good.
And hopefully they entice nation states to become miners themselves.
Very good. Very good. Hopefully soon. These are very exciting times that we live in.
So in a sense, a lot of anarcho capitalists are driven to BSV because of its hyper-capitalist perspective. Not anarchist perspective per se, but they see the means to achieving anarchy through capitalism, extreme capitalism. And the most extreme type of capitalism that we see in cryptocurrency are the Bitcoin miners.
Yep.
They're the most robust profit-seeking engines in all of crypto that are currently monetizing across 3 chains.
Great. Rafael, thank you.
That's pretty much it.
No, listen, I bet we could go on for hours, because your passion for Bitcoin SV and for cryptocurrencies in general, right, comes through very, very loud and clear. So like I said earlier, I'll have all the links in the description below for Crypto Vigilante's channel and also for the Crypto Vigilante newsletter.
1 second, Crypto. I want to make this kind of this disclaimer here. Not everyone at the Crypto Vigilante agrees with me, and I'm a Bitcoin mining maximalist. Okay, yes. I love Bitcoin mining. So BSV is just an alternative that I see that I find profitable for Bitcoin miners. Okay.
Yeah.
Bitcoin BTC could be very profitable for miners as well. It's just a different game theory, a different strategy for monetizing. And Bitcoin Cash really surprised all of us by getting rid of the dev tax. And the contingent that took over in Bitcoin Cash is something that everyone should applaud. I mean, Bitcoin Cash took out the lead development team and their lead implementation. Bitcoin Cash is an amazing project as well that could definitely rival BSV in every single aspect that I just talked about. It could be the more anarchist option for Bitcoin miners, whereas BSV is the objectivist Randian option for Bitcoin miners, right? So we have these options playing and competing in the market right now, and it's very exciting. So I'm a miner maximalist because mining is at the heart of Bitcoin, and that's it.
Rafael, thank you. For anybody who's watching, comments, questions in the description below. Really, really appreciate you, Rafael, taking this time out to share your love and your passion for crypto. Check out the Crypto Vigilante. Check out his channel. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and the Crypto Vigilante signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.